Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin?
After you, Junior.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Logged It. We're here for episode number 65. We're talking about fantasy movies. Weird how we haven't done this topic yet, but we're here for it. I'm pumped. I'm ready, and we got a great panel for you. Kaleb Boatman's here as always. Kaleb, I just want to let you know I did vote. I took my sticker off already. It was on my work jacket.
I didn't even realize I still had my sticker on. I got like right over Spider-Man's face. Like I didn't even do that on purpose. It's just like right over Spider-Man's face.
We don't normally get into politics here, but I thought you were trying to make a statement. I'm just letting you know I did vote. The ads got to me. But anyway, I'm very excited about the episode. Bowman, how are you today?
Good, doing well. Yeah, I've had a busy week, so I'm happy to just chill and talk movies. That's what I like doing.
That's fair. We got Melissa Woody for the first time on the show. Melissa, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Yay. And as always, not as always, but as always when he shows up here, havoc is bound to ensue. We got Mike Hanley. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good.
Good. We're going to kick the show off the way we always do. We're going to crack open a Miller Lite. We're going to hit the first topic, which, of course, is our favorite movies that we logged this week. So, Boatman, why don't you kick us off? What is your favorite movie that you logged this week?
All right. I only watched 2 movies this week, and they were both good. Well, I shouldn't say I only watched 2 movies this week. I only logged 2 movies this week, and they were both good. I don't feel like crapping on either of them. My rewatch this week was See How They Run, and that's great, but I've already talked about it on here. My other first-time watch that I logged is Weird. Weird was freaking great, everybody. Like, if you are a passive fan of Weird Al, watch this movie, because it is insane. It's basically just like this decade's version of Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. That's all it is, just using the story of Weird Al to do Walk Hard, and that rules. That's really awesome. Daniel Radcliffe is committing to the bit, and he is fantastic. The way they use the celebrity characters in this is a really funny satire of the way they'll usually work in the celebrities in these kind of music biopics. Particularly Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna is so over the top. It's amazing. Weird ruled. Highly recommend it, and you can watch it for free. So, why not?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to this yet. I do want to watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I just haven't quite gotten there yet. But I'm very excited about it because I love Daniel Radcliffe, not only for, of course, Harry Potter, but I think that just he's turned in some really, really interesting performances across his many films, and so I'm looking forward to watching this. I definitely want to. Melissa, did you get a chance to check this out?
Yes, I did watch it. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm not big on comedies, but this actually really did make me laugh quite a few times. So that in itself is an achievement, because I don't usually laugh very much when it comes to comedies. But I think the only critique for me personally is it kind of loses its steam towards the end. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Mike, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yes, I did. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought Daniel Radcliffe is fucking amazing in it, and I love the direction that they took with the whole biopic aspect of it. Thought it worked really well, and especially the salesman coming in and the dad just beating the ever-living shit out of him cracked me the hell up. That fucking killed me. Yeah, good shit.
Awesome. All right, Mike, let's move on to you. What was your favorite movie you logged this week?
It's a rewatch, but we watched it on Friday. Me, Cody, and Scully. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Fucking love the hell out of this movie so much, and the ending with Cameron and the car kills me every single time. I love every aspect of it. It's John Hughes does that great combination of grounded mixed with fantasy, and this movie perfectly does it so well. Like, it has fucking Matthew Broderick doing amazing shit in this. Alan Ruck as Cameron is just incredible. He just plays that lovable loser so much. And yeah, I can never get tired of watching this movie.
I actually saw this for the first time this year, believe it or not. I had never seen it before, and I watched it a couple months. Really enjoyed it. I think upon more viewings, I could like it more. As of right now, I thought it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Very enjoyable. I agree that Cameron character is probably my favorite part of the movie. I thought he was great. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. There weren't too many surprises in it, just because like it's been talked about and memed and spoofed and however many times. So like all of like the big beats, I kind of knew what they were, but I still enjoyed the movie. Let's go, Melissa. What did you think of this one, or what do you think of this one?
It's weird that you're bringing it up because me and my husband were just talking about it recently. It's one of those movies that I've only seen once, like several years ago. I've never came back to it. I enjoyed it. It's not like I didn't like it, but I don't remember it that well though. So, but it's a good time.
Boatman, what about you?
Oh yeah, I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like I think this movie is super fun, and like this is a movie that could like have gone the way of some other John Hughes movies where they just like 16 Candles doesn't really work anymore in my opinion. There are certain ones that just I think Ferris is just it's such like John Hughes is just such a good comedy director. Like he just knows the best way to get a laugh out of a certain scene. I love Ferris's opening monologue. That might be like I think my favorite scene in the movie is just like his opening monologue where he talks about like the ways to fake sickness and you know I could be the walrus, but that still wouldn't change the fact that I have to bum rides off of people. Like Ferris rules. It's a great character. Love Alan Ruck as Cameron. And Edie McClurg as the secretary. Edie McClurg doesn't get enough credit for absolutely killing it whenever she shows up. She has one job and she knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Melissa, let's go to you. What's your favorite movie log this week?
I'm gonna go farther back to a week, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I also am like behind a week on logging movies. I don't know about y'all, but I'm always like behind on that. But my favorite movie I recently watched, it's so stupid, but it's such a good time. Frankenhooker. This is one of my favorite like guilty pleasure horror movies. It's very zany, it's dumb. I mean the premise is basically this guy, his girlfriend dies and he puts her body parts together with like the hooker body, but it's her head. The practical effects are so fun, and the super crack scene is just like chef's kiss.
I have not seen this. I didn't know this existed. There's one person that the Letterboxd logged it follows that has seen this movie, and it is you. Well, Mike might have seen it, maybe it just never logged it, but because it seems like a Mike movie. But yeah, I mean, you kind of sold me on the really stupid premise. I'm game. Mike, have you seen this?
Yeah, it's been years, but it's so insane in the best way, and I've been meaning to rewatch it, so I'll definitely put it back on the list to rewatch.
Boatman.
Hi, I'm Kaleb Koho. How are you?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I figured. Oh, that's funny.
Maybe just sometime on a Monday night, I'll sit down and watch Frankenhooker, but that was not this week.
That was not today. All right, I will go next. Oh man, I'm going between a couple. Because I watched a lot of mid stuff, and so You know what? No, I'm gonna go with this. It's kind of like a niche thing. I don't know if any of you have watched it, but it's on Disney Plus. It's called Director by Night. So basically, like this, they've been doing all these like making of Marvel show documentaries. Like every time a new Marvel movie comes out or a new show comes out, it's like they do a making of thing. So I figured it was just going to be like a making of Werewolf by Night. But it's actually a lot cooler than that. It's directed by Giacchino's brother. And it's more of like a look into Giacchino and why he was obsessed with, like how he was obsessed with film as a kid. And how he started making movies with friends. There's stuff with like him getting back together with like his friends that he made movies with when he was like 10, and they like reenact scenes that they made. And there's cool stuff with their parents, and then actually on the set of Werewolf by Night. And so it's only like an hour long, but it was a really interesting documentary, just in the sense of like coming at it from the perspective of his brother, kind of looking into his career, his life a little bit, was pretty funny. And there's a really funny moment where where he's sitting there with Mr. and Mrs. Giacchino, and the brother is like, "Here, read this bio that I wrote about Michael." And the mom is like reading it, and she's like, "His list of accomplishments include the Batman, the MCU Spider-Man trilogy." And then she stops and she's like, "What? I don't know what that is. What is that?" He goes, "You don't know what Spider-Man is?" She's like, "No, what is MCU?" "That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe." And then she goes, "And Batman's not part of that?" And he's like, "No, that's DC." So it's super just genuine, like sweet, like family stuff. And it's a really good watch. It's only an hour long, but it's definitely worth your time. Has anybody here watched it yet or heard of it? Because I didn't even realize it was coming out. And then I saw it, clicked on it because I'm a Marvel junkie, and then turns out it was something a lot more than that. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys check it out. Okay, so then what we'll do, because none of you have seen that, is we're gonna move on to our least favorite movie that we logged this week. Boatman, you mentioned that you've only watched a couple movies this week. Do you even have something for this? No.
No, I don't want to crap on a good movie, so I'm good.
That's fair. What was the other one that you said?
See How They Run, which I've already talked about on here. So
I also watched that this week, weirdly enough.
I was only half watching it too. My dad was like, "I want to watch this," and I was in the room, so I logged it.
That's fair. All right, well then, Mike, we'll go to you. What's your least favorite movie you logged this week?
It's a movie called Annapolis with James Franco and Tyrese Gibson. I saw this movie when it first came out in theaters, and I finally rewatched it today, and I understand why I waited so long to rewatch it. It's basically James Franco going to the Naval Academy, and his first year there, and Tyrese Gibson plays like his superior officer, and James Franco's just so unlikable in this. He's basically a dickhead the entire movie, but they're trying to get you to root for him when he goes into these boxing matches, which is a main one against Tyrese Gibson, but you kind of root for everyone else to like beat the shit out of him, but he continues to just win. And you kind of wanted to see him fail because he's such a dick the entire movie. It's not terrible by any means, but you kind of, for this type of story, you got to kind of like the main character, and they make sure you kind of don't like him.
I remember when this came out and not really knowing what it was, and I never watched it. But I've like seen the poster or like the DVD like in stores like since 2006. And I'm always like, "Oh yeah, that movie," but I've like never watched it. So I didn't even realize what it was about. I mean, like, don't we all kind of want to punch James Franco in the face? Like, isn't that just kind of like a thing that most people want to do? But
which a very punchable face.
Yeah, like I like him as an actor, but like, yeah, he's kind of a douche. So
best roles kind of rely on the fact that you want to punch him in the face a little bit.
That's true. Melissa, have you seen this?
I have not. I've never even heard of it. I just Googled it, and I'm like, okay, I think I've seen the cover of this. So that's the extent of my knowledge on this movie.
But what about you?
See, I'm in a similar place to you, Tim, where like I've seen this poster and I've seen the trailer for this movie because it was in like the front of some other. I think it was in the front of like the Aquila and the Bee DVD. So I've seen the trailer
That's
like
right.
a few times. Whenever I would watch Aquila and the Bee as a kid. I still don't believe this movie is real. This looks like a fake movie. It looks like the fake trailer at the beginning of Tropic Thunder.
I'm halfway through rewatching that right now. Okay, so let's go to Melissa. What's your least favorite movie log this week?
So I watched it this week, but again, I did not log it, so I'm sorry. I feel like I'm ruining how the show's supposed to be.
No,
so
you're
that's good.
fine. It's not the first time.
Okay, so I'm rewatching the Mission Impossible movies and Mission Impossible 2. I feel like the thing that's frustrating about it is I feel like it could have been good, maybe. Like the cast is good, the music's pretty good, I guess. Like there's some cool scenes, but it does not come all together. And it's pretty lackluster. It's just kind of forgettable. It's a lot of women vocalizing music and slow-mo. Like that's the best way to describe it.
It's a John Woo movie.
Yeah. And I really, really don't like how the character of Naya was like written and portrayed. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is bad. But honestly, at the end of the day, like I would rather watch this than a lot of the bad James Bond movies. Like as far as like the bad James Bond movies, where like the Moore era, where like it's like so like sexist and racist, and like the action scenes aren't even that great. I'll take this one with the doves and the slow-mo and all that shit. Honestly, the biggest thing, and Maggie and I talked about this a lot when we were doing our watch throughs of this for Fandom. We talked a lot about how this movie thinks that Ethan Hunt is James Bond, and he's not. Like Ethan Hunt is not a guy who just like goes and like sleeps with like random women, and that's like how he's portrayed at the beginning of this movie with Naya, and like they're trying to like make him like a different character, and then I feel like the third one like is what gets back on track with like it feels like the same character as the first movie. This one does not. So I don't think it's a good movie, but I would rather watch this than like a lot of other like spy movies, and it's only like 2 hours on the dot. So like again, some of those more James Bond movies are like 2.5 hours long. Like dude, like I would much rather watch this, but I understand this is rough. Good pick. Boatman, what do you think about this one?
No, I kind of get what you're saying, Tim. I think that if this movie wasn't in the Mission, I'll say this, if the other Mission Impossible movies weren't that good, I don't think people would pick on this movie as much, because like it's bad, but it's not awful. I just think everything else in that franchise is so good that this one sticks out like a sore thumb, because I think there are good things about it, but it's John Woo making a John Woo movie that has the name Mission Impossible on it. And I'm not the biggest John Woo guy, but like you kind of got to respect his style because he just commits. But yeah, it's not good. Like the whole thing with like the virus. This is the only Mission Impossible movie that doesn't do the Mission Impossible plot where like the IMF or some government agency is like working against Ethan Hunt and he has to like go on his own. This is the only one that doesn't do that. And that's part of the problem. Anthony Hopkins needed to be against Ethan Hunt. How much better would that have been? And Lecter versus Tom Cruise. Come on, let's get it.
Oh my God, no, thank you. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, the biggest problem with this movie is that, like both said, it is a John Woo movie, and aesthetically it is John Woo, but with John Woo movies, they have big action set pieces that are memorable, and this movie is not memorable at all. There's no action that's memorable at all. It's just straightforward, and that's the biggest issue that I have with it, is that if John Woo's directing this, you want it to be this big action spectacle, and it isn't at all.
Yeah, fair. All right. I'm going to go next. I have something picked out, but of course I didn't prepare and I didn't type it in early enough. Okay, so I watched this last week, Wednesday, a new release called Duel. Has anyone here seen this or know what this is? So it stars Karen Gillan, and she.
Okay, I've seen this poster.
Yeah, so what it is she's a woman who's dying from a disease, and it takes place in this, like, I wouldn't even call it dystopia, but like clearly the future, but not like Star Wars, Star Trek future, just like within the next 50 or so years. And basically what they can do is they clone people, and so she's like dying, she clones herself to give to her family for when she dies. So like the pain is like less and whatever. So they will have her a clone of her to be with. And it's like identical down to the everything. So but basically what happens then is like the twist is that then she gets better and isn't dying anymore. And now there's two of them, and they have to have a duel to find out which one is going to be the permanent one. So premise, kind of interesting, really cool. It opens with like a really cool action scene that kind of sets up the world a little bit. The problem is that like the execution of this is really bad, and it's from the director of The Art of Self-Defense, which I never watched.
Really good.
Yeah, and I heard that was a good movie, but that it was a little cold in its execution. And this is very much the same way, where Karen Gillan has no emotion in this movie whatsoever. Whether she's the clone or the regular her or whatever, there's no emotion whatsoever. She talks like this the whole time, very straight-faced. This is how I talk the whole movie. Nothing's happening. I'm not excited. A bomb just went off to my right, and I'm going to keep talking like this. Like it's so boring. And it was clearly like she's a great actress. Like she's been in tons of stuff and she's fantastic. And so that's not her normal thing. So it was clearly like a choice. And it did not work. And that's everybody across the board in the movie. Aaron Paul plays a pretty major character. He does the same thing and is not great. It's just a weird movie that the premise alone is really, really cool, but I would have liked to see it either maybe as like a short film or like even a mini series, like stretch it out further, just with a little bit of a different take on it. So I don't know. Any of you interested in this or
haven't seen it?
Haven't seen it. Haven't heard of it till now.
Sorry, Aaron. Aaron is upset. I'm sorry, Aaron. I saw that you gave it 4. I apologize. It just wasn't for me, man. It did have Yorgos vibes. That's for
okay. I might like it then.
Vaguely similar to that Mahershala Ali movie that came out last year, Swan Song.
I didn't see that.
Like I didn't see that either. No one did. But just plot wise, I think they're like the same plot or whatever.
That's right. Yes, you are cutting out.
Okay.
All right. So with that, we are going to move on to the list. I believe we're up to. So we're talking about fantasy movies. And Caleb, if you look better now to me. Yeah. Are you there? Okay, good.
I think.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go ahead with your first pick.
Okay. So to me, like, there's 2 types of fantasy, right? There's like high fantasy movies, which like very much showcase like a fantasy world and like get into that. So I'm going to make a pick for one of those, but that's not going to be my first pick because I think the other type of fantasy, and that's type of fantasy movie that I love a little bit more, which is what I would describe as like low fantasy. It's movies that like it's 90% our world, but there's something fantastical about it. And I think there's a lot of great choices.
Let me guess. You're going with Bright.
No. 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 Right. I'm going with Midnight in Paris. I think Midnight in Paris is a really fun, like, just what a unique way to do time travel, where it's just never explained, like, what actually causes the time travel other than he goes into a car or carriage on a specific time in Paris. Like, I actually think the way this movie doesn't explain it makes it feel more magical. And I really like what this movie has to say about, like, the nature of nostalgia and, you know, feeling about the past, because everyone kind of romanticizes the past, and then Owen Wilson gets to the past and he talks like Marion Cotillard, and he realizes that she has this nostalgic feeling for the past that she didn't experience, and it's nostalgia upon nostalgia upon nostalgia, and I think that's super interesting. The historical figures are really fun. I particularly, Corey Stoll is great as Ernest Hemingway. I think he's fantastic as Hemingway. And Adrian Brody is super fun as Salvador Dali. Those are like the two favorites. But Kathy Bates is really fun. Tom Hiddleston is Scott Fitzgerald. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, I've seen this once. I watched it for a debate back in like 2020. I want to say 2019, 2020. When I played Jacoby, and I really enjoyed the movie. It was I take out all the stuff about Woody Allen personally. I just haven't seen a lot of his movies. Like, I've never seen Annie Hall. I've never seen a lot of his like big ones. I've seen a lot of the more recent ones. But this was I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting the way they did that part of the story, like you were talking about, Boatman. I think that all the performances are fantastic, especially I think you said Corey Stoll was fantastic. I like Owen Wilson a lot in this. Just a good movie. I would watch it again. It's short, it's like 90 minutes. That's chef's kiss to me. So Melissa, have you seen this?
I unfortunately have not, but definitely sounds like my kind of thing. So I'll have to check it out.
And Mike, what about you?
I've actually been wanting to see this, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Awesome. Mike, let's go to you. What's your first pick?
My first pick is simple, straight to the point. It's E.T. Fucking love me some E.T. Henry Thomas as Elliot is one of the best kid performances in the 80s, 100%. He's so fucking incredible. And the relationship between him and E.T. is so incredible. And Drew Barrymore, she came, it's been circling around again because of the anniversary of E.T., but she tells the story of how she, when she would be on set, when they weren't filming, she'd go up to E.T. and talk to him. So Spielberg made sure that there was always people that were controlling E.T. to always be around when she was around, to make sure that he was always alive with her. And I thought that was the sweetest thing, is that even as a little girl, she thought E.T. was fucking real. So they made sure that at all times E.T. was always moving and E.T. was always alive. And it's that grounded story mixed with magical moments that I love. It has, the bike sequences, which are incredible. And then it has that heartbreaking E.T. dying scene, which kills me every time, even though I know motherfucker's going to come back to life. But still, it's still fucking heartbreaking to see him, especially when he's all that gray and white when they find him. Oh, man, it's just fucking heartbreaking. But I love the family dynamic of him, his brother, his sister, and the mom together. It's so fucking great. And, of course, it deals with the whole divorce issue that Spielberg deals with in a lot of his movies. And I think it's done extremely well in here. And that shed sequence opening up is fucking shot so well, is incredible. Great fucking time.
Yeah. I saw this. Mike, you might remember they did a big re-release of this back in the early 2000s. It was like,
yes.
Was it 2002?
Yeah, it was 2002.
Okay, well, for the 20th, that makes sense. That was the first time I saw it, and I remember seeing it in the theater with my parents and my sister, and that was I kind of knew what it was. I think we owned the VHS, but I just never watched it. So seeing it in the theater, like I knew the like poster that Mike has behind him. like I knew that iconic stuff, but didn't know much about the movie. And it's one of those ones for Spielberg that like obviously is incredible. Like I love it. But I just have never like gone back to it as much as I have other ones. Like I need to give it more chances. I did just buy it on 4K. So I'm going to rewatch it pretty soon here. But yeah, it's like I've always gravitated back to Jurassic Park and Jaws and Raiders. And for some reason I just never have with E.T., but I like the movie quite a bit. So I just need to jump in on it more. This will definitely be one that like I think I could show like my kids when I have them eventually and be like get that movie magic stuff in there right away. Like I think, yeah, for sure. Boatman, what about you in this one?
To me, E.T. kind of exists within my brain in the same place as The Goonies. I think E.T. elevates itself a little better because I think Spielberg is just a master director, but they both exist in the same brain. And then a movie that, because I didn't see them when I was a kid, I don't think I will ever be able to fully appreciate because I had grown up with so many movies that were inspired by E.T. and the Goonies that they just felt same old to me, even though they're the inspiration for those. So nothing against E.T. I gave it a rewatch last month, and it's solid. Spielberg's I think Henry Thomas is the reason why this movie works, along with Spielberg's directing. I think if Henry Thomas doesn't sell it, this movie doesn't work. And I really like the family dynamic stuff, and I almost wish there was just a little bit more of just like the whole family interacting, because I think that's really kind of the best stuff in the movie. But it's good. It is good.
Melissa, what about you?
This is the movie that made me love movies. I would watch this over and over and over and over again, like as a very young child, like 2 years old. Throughout my whole childhood, like this was very much a staple for me. And so it's very sentimental to me. It will always make me cry every single time. And I just, yeah, it will always have like that special place in my heart when I watch it.
Did you guys get a chance to see the 40th anniversary?
Yeah, I went to the theater for it.
I did not, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't. Was the IMAX presentation just incredible, Mike? I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Nice, awesome. Three Ninjas is the movie. All right. So I believe we are on to Melissa
For my first
for your first pick.
Okay. So I'm going to set the stage of the first time I ever watched this movie.
Okay.
I was in 5th grade. It was a rainy day at school. And my teacher pulls out the TV on the cart.
I like where this is going.
And my life forever changed when I saw David Bowie as Jareth, the Goblin King, in the labyrinth.
Amazing.
And I look at him every day. This movie, I don't know. Like, I think it's just because I saw it at that age. It was so impressionable on me. And, like, I listen to the music, like, still, like, on a pretty regular basis. I think the music is awesome. I'm definitely the type of person, if there's, like, puppets or, like, creature type of things in a film, like, I'm there. So this film has lots of that going on. Jennifer Connelly is awesome. I mean, she's kind of annoying, but like it works for the film. And I think it's a great coming of age, like family fantasy type of film. And the bulge, it's iconic.
I saw this for the first time in 2018, I want to say. We used to do, I've talked about it a few times, but at the theater I worked at, we used to do classic film night, and it would range from anything depending on the topic that we had for the month. And I don't remember if we did fantasy movies or what it was. I think it was fantasy movies, because we also did like Princess Bride and a couple other ones. And so I saw this for the first time in the theater. and I sat next to my dear friend Katie, who was just like, it was a very, very interesting experience. And she said she was in the chat earlier. I don't know if she's still there, but this was fun to watch with her and our crew at the theater, having never seen it before. It's a weird fucking movie. This is like one of those that Boatman was just talking about with like his like, yeah, I saw it as an adult, so it does not work for me the same way it works for other people. But I think there's just a lot of fun to be had with this one. I don't remember a lot about it beyond just like what you were saying, like the bulge, and I love puppets, and like the Muppets are like my shit. So the Henson stuff, like obviously, like I love that stuff. And so this will be one that I definitely watch again. But honestly, if it's like between this and like Dark Crystal, like I'd probably lean towards Dark Crystal. But this is fun. Boatman, what do you think about Labyrinth?
Confession: I've never seen Labyrinth.
There, all right. Mike.
Yeah, it's been a long while since I've seen Labyrinth, so I don't remember a lot of it, but the big like set pieces I remember, and I remember just having a great fucking time with it. I remember really enjoying it, so I definitely need to go back and rewatch it again.
It's fair. All right. We are on to me. I said it last week. I was gonna make, the Tim the Tim generic pick because I have to. But I'm actually gonna go with not the one that I always talk about. I'm going with Lord of the Rings, but I'm going to do Fellowship of the Ring. Return of the King is my favorite, but I think a lot of that is like the pure just like all the payoff in Return of the King is just like chef's kiss. But there's great moments beyond just payoff. But like this one really just like being able to set up this world and the characters in such a great way. And like putting you into this fantasy world and just like going for it from like beat one. Like honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I talked about last week with Tar, how I love movies where they just throw you in the world and you just like don't get your hand held at all. You just gotta like know what you're doing. And I feel like Lord of the Rings is very much like that in the sense that like you get thrown in and they explain things well. But there's so much going on that if you don't pay attention, like you're lost to the point where like when Maggie saw them for the first time, she didn't have a great time because she didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then by like the third, it took her like 3 times. And then all of a sudden she was like, oh, this is awesome. And I'm like, yes, thank you. But I've seen these movies a bajillion times. And so like, and I saw them when I was a kid because I was 6 when this came out. So it was like, this was like my bread and butter. I watched it over and over and over again. So I just think this one specifically for setting up the world, the fantasy world, there's so much going on between like the orcs, the elves, eagles, there's a fucking Balrog, the goblins, dwarves, like you get like everything in this one. Like if there was like one Ent in this movie, like you'd have fucking everything. It's awesome. Fucking magic rings that speak to you. It's chef's kiss. I talk about it way too much, but I had to bring it up. Like I could not leave this list without it. In the same way that like if we ever talk about anything that Monsters Inc. could qualify for, technically could probably qualify for this one, maybe not really, but I would talk about it. So I gotta bring it up. Boatman looks frozen, so we're gonna go to Melissa first. Melissa, what do you think about Lord of the Rings?
I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings, the Middle Earth, like world. That's actually something about this community and specifically fandom fights that I really appreciate. It's like reinvigorated that like love because it's one of those things where like I was 10 years old when this came out and there was so much hype, around it, and I was one of those kids that like would watch it over and over again, and I'd watch the behind the scenes stuff like constantly, and I was like obsessed with it. I feel like this movie actually, it's probably the first movie where I really got into like behind the scenes stuff a little bit more. And so I do really appreciate that about this film. But yeah, I feel like the last few years, this like franchise has really been like reinvigorated for me, because it's just something I was like, oh, like I guess as an adult I could still like it. I don't know like why I didn't, but yeah, no, love this choice.
I totally know what you mean. Like when when the movies came out, like I said, I was 6, 7, and 8 when the 3 had come out, and then by the time that I was a junior in high school when the first Hobbit came out. So I saw all 3 of those. And then, so I was like really into it, like when it was happening, but then it like fell away. Whereas like Harry Potter has been something where like I've been like obsessed, like the books, the movies, years after the movies, like always. But Lord of the Rings was a weird one where it was like, I read the books a ton in high school. Like I did all that stuff. And then I just like didn't watch it for like almost 10 years. And then literally coming back into this community, like reinvigorated my love for it the way that you said, to the point where it's like now my favorite movie. And it wasn't before, like it wasn't even in my top like 20. It was something I've always loved, but it was just like getting back and getting into fandom and stuff and rewatching them and just being like, holy shit, I forgot that I really love these fucking movies. And now I watch them like 50 times a year. So I very much relate to what you just said. Absolutely. Mike, what do you think about this?
Yeah, the movie's truly incredible. The whole Lord of the Rings franchise, like the 3 movies are amazing. And it came with a very funny theater experience. I've seen this when I was 14. We went to a sold out screening of it. We all go in the theater. Then they tell us the screen's not working. So all of you, we need to go to another theater next door. So we all get up and go to the next fucking screen. So we try to get the same seats, shit like that. And then they go, guys, sound ain't working in this one. You gotta move again. And we moved to a third fucking screen of this fucking movie. Hasn't even started yet. And then it gets to like the previews of it, and then something went wrong, and they went, guys, you gotta go back to we fixed the original theater that we have it, so you gotta go back to that one. Like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. So after all that, I went, my whole thinking is this movie better be fucking awesome. This is the 4th goddamn time we've all had to move to see this fucking thing, and I was blown away by it. I loved every second of it, and I've continued to love these movies so much. It's such an amazing world. This is 100% one of the greatest fantasy franchises of all time.
Boatman, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think that there is nothing worse than people trying to do what this movie does and failing at it. Because you look at like a bad fantasy, something like Aragon, for example. That's like an attempt to do what they're doing, what Peter Jackson is doing here, and it doesn't work at all. And I think it's because Peter Jackson knows how to do this. Like what your example of like giving you just enough of the lore to where you can understand what's going on, but not so much that it just gets bogged down in the lore and the world building and everything. No, they keep it tethered to the characters, because that's why movies work, is you care about the characters. And these characters are great. Frodo rules. Sam rules. Gandalf rules. Like, the Fellowship is great. Yeah, like, it's a fun world, but it's through the lens of these characters. And that's why the world works, and that's why the movie works.
Yeah, remind me after the show, because I don't know if I don't film from like a movie room anymore like I have in the past, but I've redone my Blu-ray area to be very Lord of the Rings specific. So I'll show you guys after the call, so we can get on to the next thing. But
Tim, will you wear wigs?
But when will you wear wigs? You know what that is, Melissa, right? Do you know
familiar.
what that is? The what?
What is it? It sounds familiar. What is that?
It's the Dominic Monaghan, Elijah Wood interview. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, I think I have. Yes.
I need to send it to you if you
yes,
have.
Please do.
It's incredible. All right, let's move on. Let's go back up to Boatman.
Okay. So as I said last time, my pick was kind of low fantasy. Now I'm going for high fantasy, but I'm also going animated. And I think that a film that really went for a super unique fantasy world with a ton of just fascinating characters was Spirited Away. I think Spirited Away is a really great fantasy film where just like you want to talk about how to do a proper like world. Like they don't spend a whole lot of time like explaining it. Like there are some rules like the bridge and everything, but those are also always filled with like they're used to support these scenes of like tension or intrigue or something or other. And I think it's done really well. I love the designs of all of the ghosts in the bathhouse, all the spirits. I think like no two spirits look alike, and I think that's super cool. Like it's super like attention to detail, and like there's just a lot of unique designs. And I think Miyazaki is just kind of a master at this. I think Spirited Away is a fantastic film that I always love.
Yeah, I like this movie. Everyone knows I'm not a big on Ghibli, but of the ones I've seen, this is definitely the best one. The characters are just really interesting. The story is interesting. It's weird enough for me as like a outsider on Ghibli and anime and stuff. Like it's just weird enough that I'm like, ooh, this is really interesting, but it doesn't get so fucking crazy like something like Howls, where like I don't even know what's happening. Like I don't even fucking know what's going on in that movie. I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm sorry.
Look, I like Howls, and I don't know what's going on in that movie. So I think that's valid.
So I definitely like this one. I don't have the love for it that everyone else did. And I actually probably never would have watched it if it wasn't for Maggie. She actually was the one that, you know, said that she liked some of these movies. So I picked it up. We watched it together. But yeah, it's definitely a good movie. I think it deserved its, as much as I love Shrek, or not Shrek. Yeah, Shrek. It beat Shrek.
No,
right?
it didn't beat Shrek. It beat Lilo and Stitch, which it shouldn't have, and Treasure Planet. And
it's 2002. I had the date
right. So it's 2001 on IMDb, but it qualified for Oscars in 2002.
That's why.
It was, I think, Japan in 2001, and then it didn't come to America.
So, yeah, I think it deserved the Oscar win. I think it's a very beautiful movie, but and it's kind of crazy that it's still one of the only pictures to what am I doing? Oh, of my thing from before. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Melissa, you got mad at me. So you like these movies.
This is actually one of the Ghibli. I was not sure how to say it, but
I think either way is fine.
Okay. I've actually only seen this once, like back in 2002. I remember seeing it at my best friend's house, and I loved it as a kid. But I haven't revisited it, so I feel like I need to. The only thing I really distinctly remember is the food. The food looks so good in the movie.
Awesome. I do like food. In movies and in real life. Mike?
Yeah, I think this is a good movie. The Ghibli style took me some getting used to. I just, at first, I just didn't care for it. But after watching this movie again, I went, yeah, I actually like where it's going. And I like the story. I think the story is great. And the style in general, I think, works for it. Yeah, good shit.
All right. Mike, let's move on to you for your next pick.
Okay, well, my next pick, I'm going with Big Trouble in Little China. Jack Burton himself. Jack Burton and Wang, the greatest fucking supporting character starring in a movie ever. Jack Burton. The man can't do anything right at all, but he lucks his way into defeating people. I don't know how he fucking does it, but I just love the fights in this movie are incredible. The little basket case on wheels, little pan is fucking awesome. Just the fact that they'll have a fight scene with Wang like kicking the shit out of people, and then Jack Burton will take his knife out and it'll fly across the screen, and he'll like leave the fucking area to go get it, and fucking Wang's just kicking the shit out of people. He finishes the fight, and then Kurt Russell just jumps back in ready to go, and everyone's already out. It's just comedic timing at its best, and the fact that he knocks himself out at the end battle, like for the first 15 minutes of that battle, he's just laying flat because he shot the air and the fucking ceiling came down and knocked him out, is fucking incredible. I love the magic of this movie. The effects are so wild, and it has that like 70s martial arts style in an 80s movie that works perfectly. John Carpenter directs the hell out of this movie. You can tell that he loves the martial arts aspect of it, and having it take place in Chinatown was so fucking perfect because it's just small areas. The sets are so dynamic and fucking great. Just everything about it I love, and Kurt Russell is just fucking fantastic. My favorite Kurt Russell performance is this character of Jack Burton. He's so fucking great.
Yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. I watched this for the first time last year, and Maggie and I watched it together. She fell asleep about halfway through and then woke up towards the end and was like, what the fuck is happening? She was very confused. It's a very fun movie. Carpenter and Russell, just they pair like a nice wine and cheese. They're just mwah. It's great shit. Really fun movie. Not one that I think I'll go back to like I would like The Thing, but definitely one that I very much enjoyed watching when I watched it. Melissa, what do you think about this one?
I guess I'm just striking out left and right. I haven't seen it.
That's fair. Boatman.
Some of these guys, they'll come to me and they'll say, have you paid your dues, Jack? And I say, the check is in the mail. No, this movie shouldn't work. I should hate this movie. It rules. It goes very, very hard, and it's very, very fun. It's so campy and so ridiculous, and it's so much fun. You can tell they're just having a blast making this movie. And I think that's what I like most about it. It's fun. It feels fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Melissa, let's go to you. For your
All right. Like Boatman was saying, there's like the high fantasy and the low fantasy. And I think I do kind of gravitate for like low fantasy stuff, just generally speaking. But I definitely do like the high fantasy type of movies as well. But I wanted to talk about a movie that like I'm pretty sure probably none of you have seen it, and I just want more people to go watch it. So it's called Juliet of the Spirits, or Giuliette of the Spirits. It's Italian. It's a Federico Fellini film. It's actually the only one I've seen of his, which is weird. I've not seen 8.5. I will at some point. And it stars his real life wife as Juliet or Giulietta. The plot's kind of hard to explain. It's definitely one of those movies you just kind of have to experience. It is kind of psychedelic in nature and kind of surreal. I would say kind of just overview. It's kind of about her inner turmoil that she's dealing with from her past trauma and kind of a current situation she's going through. And there's some really cool, like, surreal images, and the set pieces are really awesome, and the costumes are really cool, particularly the hats. There's some really cool hats in this movie. And fun little fact, it was nominated for Best Costume Design and Best Set for the Oscars. It didn't win, but it got nominated. And there's a B-52 song named Juliet of the Spirits. So check it out.
I thought you were saying that there was a B-52 song in the movie.
No. They're time travelers.
That would be an interesting coincidence or yeah. No, I have not seen this, but I'm interested. You got me in. You piqued my interest. Boatman, have you seen this? Or
no, I have never seen this. I've only seen 8.5. And I appreciate that more than I like it. But yeah.
Yeah, I love me some 8.5, so I'll definitely check this one out. I have not seen this either.
Okay.
Do it and talk to me about it afterwards.
Definitely.
That's fair. All right. So I'm gonna be that boring guy who's gonna go with that other thing that he mentioned earlier. I have to talk about Harry Potter. Like, I fucking have to. I'm sorry. The fact that this came out and a month later Fellowship came out is bananas. That you could walk into a theater on Christmas Day and see both of these movies back to back if you wanted is fucking insane. yeah, just like like I said, it's very like generic Tim, but like at the end of the day, when I think about like fantasy movies, like this is like what immediately comes to mind. And yes, there are those like low fantasy things that like you guys are talking about that I enjoy those a lot too. Like anything fantasy related, you have my interest, but there's something about just like these high fantasy worlds that they create, and especially at a time when the early 2000s or the late 90s when they're making it, and they're doing a lot of this stuff practically. Like, sure, there's a lot of CGI in the movies, but there's a lot of stuff practical effects wise in the first couple Harry Potter movies. Like, even in the second one, like the basilisk for like some of that fight is a fucking puppet. It's like a big fucking thing. It's not even a CGI. Like, that's so fucking cool, and it looks good. And like, this movie is just so much fun. Again, my favorite one is probably Half-Blood Prince, but I go to the first one just because it is the putting you in the world, and it does such a good job of putting you in the world and making it digestible, not only for the kids that it's aimed towards, but also for adults, because we still love this movie today. Like, it's still something that like you could watch as an adult, and I think people would enjoy it. So yeah, I love this series. Maggie and I were literally just saying yesterday, we were like, man, we haven't done a Wizarding World watch all year, and I think we're gonna jump in here this week because we need to get it done. We need to make it happen. So Boatman, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, Sorcerer's Stone is not my favorite of these, but it's good. It's a good world builder. There's a lot of fun moments here. The first two movies are very like, kid fun, Chris Columbus, and I think that's what they should be. My favorite is Prisoner of Azkaban, which I think is like the basic pick, but that's my favorite. But Sorcerer's Stone has a lot of fun moments. Robbie Coltrane.
Ugh.
I did not appreciate how good he is in this movie specifically, because he was nominated for a BAFTA for this and deserved, honestly. Like, he's quite good.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, this is the most magical of the Harry Potter movies for sure. Chris Columbus just knows how to bring that magic to the world, and it shows it perfectly. Everything about it is just magic, fun. Like, yeah, it's them as kids, it's them world building. So yeah, the other ones do get darker and they get more grounded. But even though this isn't my favorite one, I think this is a perfect Harry Potter movie because this is the one that just shows you, hey, this is magic. Everything about it is magic. The rest of the movies start getting more grounded, more real. This one is just pure fun and pure just magical. Love everything about it.
Yeah. Melissa?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I mean, Harry Potter, that franchise, like, has been in my life my entire life, it feels like. I went to all the midnight book openings, and I also went to all the movie premieres as well. Like, it was such a big part of my childhood, and yeah, this one definitely has like that special place in my heart too. Very kind of sentimental movie magic kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think the sixth one is probably my favorite. Like, the book and the movie is my favorite because it was the first book I went to the midnight release for, was Half-Blood Prince. Mm-hmm. And I stayed up all night reading it, and it was just like, so I've always loved that one the most. But yeah, no, I feel that. All right, so we have 2 spots left. Melissa and Mike, do either of you have another pick you would like to throw out?
I do have one extra one.
Go ahead, Mike.
Let's go Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Bogus Journey, huh?
Yeah, fucking Bogus Journey. This movie is so fucking wacky and insane that I fucking love it. I just love the fact that they go, we're going to get evil Bill and Ted to fuck you up. And they do. They fucking kill Bill and Ted, which did not see that fucking coming when I saw this movie. I went, there's no fucking way they kill him. And they fucking do. And they go to hell. They go to fucking hell. It is so insane where they have the Easter Bunny go and try to fuck up Ted. Like, what the fuck is happening? It is completely wacky and completely crazy. And then they have Station, greatest fucking creation ever. I still love that the 2 little monster motherfuckers. When they turn into big guy, I still enjoy it, but the two little guys, fucking awesome. And William Sadler just comes in and destroys the fucking part. I love him so much in this. And then ending it with God Gave Rock and Roll to You while they are having their fucking ZZ Top beards going on is just fucking fantastic. I love Bill and Ted so much, and I thought this was the perfect ending to their movies that they could have, because it just shows that they have brought life to everyone. They brought happiness to everyone. And that was the whole point of Bill and Ted is, you bring happiness. You don't give a shit. And yeah, of course, they're a bunch of stoners. You never see them smoke, but they're 100% stoners. And this movie, just fucking incredible. The whole them trying to exercise Bill and Ted, but they don't know it's Bill and Ted. They're just trying to exercise it. It's just fucking awesome. And that's the reason they go to hell, which is just great. Yeah. Great shit.
I really, really like the first Bill and Ted movie. Big fan. Don't love this very much. I agree with the William Sadler comment. He's great. And actually the first 30 minutes or so of this are really fun, but it just I don't know, it devolves into not my cup of tea. Just not the biggest fan of it overall. Didn't love the third one either. So I don't know. I like the first one, and I probably will just continue to watch the first one and not the other ones. But I respect it. Boatman, what about you?
Yeah. I haven't actually seen all of Bogus Journey, so I will refrain from talking about it. I've seen bits and pieces, but never the full thing.
All right, Melissa, what about you?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's a fun ass time. It's a good stoner movie. It's stupid. It's fun. I've definitely seen the first Bill and Ted way more. Actually, the same teacher that showed me Labyrinth on that TV she rolled in, she also showed me Bill and Ted at Fun Adventure.
What?
Yeah, which is kind of crazy because I went to Catholic school. Anyways, just seems not appropriate, but who knows?
Not at all. My God.
The 90s,
wow,
early
isn't there a whole thing in the first one where they talk about deflowering the wenches or the ladies or whatever? Yeah, the girlfriend.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's I'm gonna fast forward through this part. I was like, all right.
Oh my God! Wow, what a lady, man. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this movie's fun. I need to revisit it.
Melissa, do you have another pick you want to throw
out? Sure. I love labyrinths. Let's go with Pan's Labyrinth.
Nice.
I love the score of this film. I think it's really beautiful. It's a pretty sad movie, but I think it's just I love the character design of some of the creatures, like the fawn and the what's that guy's I don't know this guy. Can't remember his name. But very iconic creature design that I feel really stays with you. Some of the best I've seen. I actually rewatched it yesterday for the first time since it came out. So some of the CGI kind of stuff doesn't hold up super well, but overall the practical stuff is great. And I just like the kind of overall message just about I don't know, escapism and through storytelling. And I mean, that's why I watch movies. I love, it's my favorite form of escapism is movies. And, Ophelia kind of escapes in her own world to deal with what's going on in her life.
Yeah. This is fantastic. I was thinking about it while you were talking, and I think this might have been the first foreign language film I ever saw.
Same here.
When it came out, it was it broke. It was one of those Parasite where it broke through into the mainstream really hard, and it was because there was the violence is pretty intense, and the scene where the dude breaks the guy's nose or whatever, bashes it in, or that shit's nuts. It's but also the high fantasy stuff, it's this gothic fantasy fairy tale-esque like story, and so it kind of breaks through that way. I really love this this movie. I think when it comes to Del Toro, I prefer Devil's Backbone over this one a little bit, but this is like really, really good shit that I haven't watched in a few years, and I need to give it a rewatch because I think the last time I watched this was when this is gonna age this channel a bit, but me, Maggie, and Nazario did an episode of Multiplex Loves Movies in its first iteration, all about Guillermo del Toro, and we talked about this movie obviously when we did that. So
Nice.
I think that was the last time I watched it. But Mike, do you like this one?
Oh yeah, I love this movie. I love Del Toro is fucking perfect at creating fantasy worlds around like dark stories, and this is no exception. Like I love the fact that the entire movie she's just trying to escape into this other world, and the other world is just as fucking dark as the one that she's trying to escape from. The effects are fucking like the practical effects are great, and I just love the performances in general are fucking fantastic in it.
Boatman, what about you?
Confession Part 2. I haven't actually seen Pan's Labyrinth. I think that's probably the bigger shock. That's admittedly one of my bigger blind spots.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the list. Head on over to the Letterboxd page. Take a look at that. And all the movies that we talked about tonight, we're going to have stuff on there for that. So, Mike and Melissa and Boatman, did you guys get a chance to watch the movie of the month for this episode? Mike?
I will get to it next week, Tim.
Melissa, what about you?
I've seen it, but I did not like recently rewatch it.
Would you like to talk about it?
Sure. I'll try my best.
we're going to talk about Pig. Why don't we have Mike go first, and then he'll kind of get it flowing, and then Melissa, you could jump in second. So Mike, go ahead.
So Nicolas Cage is a fucking god. This man is fucking amazing. I love me some Nicolas Cage, and I'm so glad that this was a movie that went. You know what? Nicolas Cage is back, even though he never went anywhere. He's actually back into theaters, and I think the marketing behind this kind of killed it at first for a lot of people because the marketing was like John Wick, but with a pig, and I went, that's not what this movie is at all. Not fucking all. It's more about grief, and like it's like the dramatic grief, not the action-packed where I'm gonna break your fucking nose and throw you off a cliff grief. It's more of I'll sit there and I'll talk to you about why the shit sucks, why the situation sucks, and I'm going to talk to you about it. And Nicolas Cage gives a fucking performance out of this. This was a fucking movie to come back to. He does so amazing in it. I love it to death. It was my number one of last year, and yeah, I'm so fucking happy that he got to do this because he was fucking incredible in it.
It was also my number. It was my number 2, Mike. It was my number 2 most of the year until the last Duel came out, and then that took over. What would you give it out of 5, Mike?
Oh, 5.
That's
great fucking movie.
Melissa.
Yeah. Even like regardless of the advertisement of this or like the marketing for this film, I feel like just Nicolas Cage like himself was like obviously against type in this film, and I feel like that added tension in itself. Like, because it's like you kind of were watching, or at least this was my experience, but like I was kind of watching like the whole time, like, okay, when is he gonna like break? When is he gonna do his like Nick Cageisms? And like he never really does. And I mean, he has like moments of like outbursting, like, you know, confrontation, argument type of things, but not to like the degree that you see in other films. So it's just kind of interesting in itself that like just him added tension, like, because it was like, when are you gonna freak out? And then he like never really does. I really enjoyed the film. I felt like there were some really good scenes. Like I liked the restaurant scene. I thought the underground like situation was cool. I kind of wish they explored that a little bit more. But I don't know if it like fully came together for me, but like overall really enjoyed it, and I need to rewatch it. But
what would you give it out of 5, Melissa?
I would give it 4.
4. Okay. Sounds great. All right. Well, guys, it was a speedy one, but it was a fun one. That was a great episode. That's it. We did it. One of the shorter ones, but like I said, it was a fun conversation with you guys. So I appreciate having you here, Melissa. We'd love to have you back because you're fun to talk about movies with. Good shit. So, guys, next week we got movies you want to live in. I don't know what I'm gonna pick for that. I gotta think about that one. Maybe
Fellowship and Monsters Inc.
Let's just pick Lord of the Rings again. Yeah. And then the week after that, we got SNL alums. That's gonna be the last show of the year. So we do have full panels on that already. So, but tune in for the next 2 weeks for those episodes. I want to thank Boatman as always, Melissa and Mike. We'll see you guys next week with movies you want to live in. But until then, have a great night. We'll see you next week.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening.